What's up everyone? Josh here, resident RK Motors content guru and sometimes shady day sunglass wearer. The car we're going to spotlight today is this awesome 1966 Chevrolet Chevy II Nova. So Chevrolet has a long history of trims of cars graduating to actual models. You can think of Bel Air as it related to Styline and Fleetline, or Malibu as it related to Chevelle. Eventually Nova grew into the model name. This Chevy II Nova was the second generation of Chevy II Nova, and it's probably the most desirable when it comes to collectors. Back in the day, it had quite a lot of competition. The Ford Falcon sold a lot better. It was also getting competition from Ford's Mustang, from the Corvair, and from even the Chevy Camaro when it debuted in '67. So, GM had kind of a two-pronged philosophy back then. They had the Corvair, which was somewhat exotic for your regular buyer, and then they had this car, which was, a much more approachable. So the second generation Nova was redesigned in 1966. It was facelifted, and I guess some people refer to it as squared up, okay? So they took the side of the car and they reduced a lot of the tumble home in the profile. So you see the angle is much less here, and it actually goes pretty much to a 90-degree back here on the quarters. Makes the car look much more substantial, a lot more muscular. And that's why these cars are so popular these days, because it isn't hard to make them look very good, as you can tell from this car. So pretty much everything appearance-wise is stock, except for you have a nice billet grille here, common modification in muscle cars. Cowl induction hood, very common on Chevrolet muscle cars. And everything else is kind of detail touches like polished fuel door, power antenna, and of course LED tail lights. So one of the best things about this Nova is the stance. Very aggressive stance, looks really good just sitting still, looks even better moving. Very nice wheels, some of the most aggressive wheels Foose makes. They're called Foose Knuckles, and these are the cast versions of those. So this particular Chevy Nova is a detailed ground-up restoration. It's pretty much the quintessential kind of traditional muscle car. It isn't traditional in the respect that it's necessarily correct, but this is a lot of what the market wants, in that it turns a lot of heads, sounds great, and it performs great. This is bright torch red, two-stage. That is still a GM color. It's been a GM color for quite a few years. You can go get a 2020 Corvette with torch red on it right now as we speak. And that pretty much sums up the outside. Let's take a look at the engine. So the first thing you'll notice is this is certainly an engine that you will not be afraid to show off. It's very nice under the hood. Even have, details even so far as polished fender hardware. But the main focus is the 383 cubic inch Chevy small block. So this is obviously more traditional than the LS swaps we've highlighted for the past 2 weeks. 383 is a 350 with a bigger bore and a longer stroke. So you're just increasing displacement, pretty simple. One great thing about this engine is the FiTech fuel injection. So, a lot of traditionalists still clean the carburetors, which that's awesome. I love carbureted cars myself. But if you're the kind of person that wants something that stays in adjustment, you don't have to walk outside or go outside every 2 months when the weather changes and, mess with the carburetor settings, this is a perfect setup. Under that, chromed Edelbrock RPM air gap intake. The air gaps are really cool because they provide a cooler, denser charge into the engine, which of course means more power. Aluminum heads. So aluminum heads are beneficial for 2 reasons. One, they're lighter than cast iron heads. And 2, they're generally engineered better because they're more modern. Nice March Ultra Drive serpentine system on the front. In addition to looking really cool, that reduces belt tension compared to V-belts, traditional V-belts. And obviously less tension means more power. Less resistance equals more power. So moving on to the interior, kind of follows the same theme as the exterior of the car. Not over the top, but some cool customization. Of course, updated seats with power adjustment for the driver, updated door panels, a little different dash, custom console, air conditioning, some nice Autometer American Muscle telemetry there in the dash. That's one of my favorite gauges for these cars. So one of the great things about most restorations, most modern restorations, is the convenience that's included in driving the car. So, back in the day, for instance, you would have had a traditional automatic shifter where you could just go into pretty much any gear you wanted to. These days, we have stuff like this awesome B&M Mega Shifter That's referred to as a ratchet style shifter that'll lock you out of park and reverse so you don't, grenade your transmission. So when you're wanting to drive aggressively, you can just bump up gears just like that. Another great usability feature that's pretty much universal in today's restorations is a tilt steering column. So, if, say, you're an oversized fellow like me, you can tilt the steering column to get in or out of the car or drive more comfortably. And a cool detail, if you're a Chevrolet nerd like I am, is the red bow tie on the seats. That was synonymous with Chevrolet performance for decades, and it's actually making a comeback this coming year on the Silverado ZR2. So some of you might have noticed the tubes and the custom inner fenders in the engine bay of this Nova when we were discussing its engine. That is all part of a Heidts subframe. Heidts subframe is one of many bolt-in kits you can get for front ends of muscle cars. The advantages of a kit like this are you can reduce your ride height, or you can dial in your stance. It offers coil-over-shocks, adjustable coil-over-shocks in this case, for better damping. You can, kind of play with the ride height that way as well. Tubular control arms, which are lighter than traditional control arms and stronger. And overall, it makes the car drive better. And as a kit, you're buying something that is proven. It's somebody's engineered it, and you're not just throwing parts of the car hoping they'll all work together. Kind of the same story and under the back of the car, where you have a Heidts 4-link. So traditionally, this Nova would have been a solid axle leaf spring car. And the original leaf setup for Novas was a mono leaf, which means one leaf spring. That's because Chevrolet wanted the cars to ride really well. That's not so great for performance. So what you get with a 4-link is you get a rear end that will not only control the up and down of the power going through the axle, kind of controls the side to side as well. And naturally there are varying degrees of 3 and 4-link rear ends, as far as how much power you want to put down, how much traction you want to get. Again, adjustable coilovers. One great thing about this setup, the coilovers and the 4-link, is it removes the leaf springs, and that allows you to do bigger rear tires. So it kind of gets the spring out of the way. As you can probably tell, those of you who are voiced in this sort of thing, there are many tubs under this car. It's got some pretty thick rear tires. This is a Strange Engineering 9-inch rear axle. You might remember from the last video we did talking about how universal the Ford 9-inch is as far as durability and ease of use. This is what's called a fabricated 9-inch, or you'll hear it referred to as Fab 9 a lot of times, just shortened up. Go up this massive drive line to 700 R4 4-speed automatic transmission. Find these in lots of Resto-Mods. Basically, Turbo Hydromatic 400 progressed into a 4-speed, so you have your 3/4 gears and an overdrive in this case. Those of you who have driven anything with big gears in it, big wheels, that it's always great to have an overdrive. As far as other stuff under the car, nice fuel tank here with body match straps. That's a cool detail. Massive, looks like about a 3-inch exhaust system. Got mandrel bins in it. So that doesn't, the whole idea behind a massive exhaust system like this is to reduce back pressure. It's like one of our salesmen here says at RK, an engine is basically a giant air pump. So, if you can get bigger tubes, get long tube headers like these here, you can reduce the back pressure in your engine and create more power. Here, this kit is made for, just privy to a high horsepower setup. So we don't really know what kind of power this 383 in this car is making, but given that it has the EFI 4 system and given that it has this exhaust on it, I'm guessing it probably makes some pretty good power. These are low restriction mufflers, single chambers, very loud, very aggressive sounding, very cool. Got power rack and pinion steering. Always better than a traditional setup, just easier turns, tighter turning. So part of this car's great stance is obviously the wheel and tire package. These are Foose Knuckles and they're chrome, so that means you won't have to spend every weekend polishing them out if the weather changes or if you hit rain. It's one of the most aggressive designs Foose has. These are the cast version, and of course at every corner behind those you have nice Wilwood brakes. That pretty much wraps up our look at this awesome '66 Chevy II Nova. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And once again, anything you'd like to see, let us know in the comments. Any critiques you have, let us know in the comments. Thanks.